r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. Ex-homeless Redditors. What was the scariest thing that you ever saw on the streets? NSFW. Cold weather. I thought I was going to die one night. I was so cold. I remember waking up thinking you need to move or you are going to die. This was the scariest thing for me. I ended up sleeping in buses. Burning sterno. It's like jellied rubbing alcohol that burns for a good while. I would try to constantly be walking cause if I stopped I'd probably fall asleep and die. I also sometimes rested under a bridge from time to time. One time I fell asleep under the bridge and I woke up finally feeling warm and cozy and thought it was nice to finally be able to rest. Then I realized that it's way too cold for this and I can't move without that frozen fingers pain everywhere. Struggled real hard to get my sterno out and could barely bend my fingers enough to light it. Like my hands were nearly useless. I'm really glad I woke up. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Edit 2. All you guys telling me you're glad I woke up got me feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. I haven't felt this happy to be alive for a long time. Thank you. I'm glad you woke up too. There is a drainage ditch in my area that the local homeless people tend to bed down in. A few years ago, when I found myself destitute, I spent one night down there. That night I witnessed a Molotov get thrown into another dude's spot which led to a huge fire that ran rampant through the area. Yep, I bought a tent the next day and started camping in the local mountains. That's insane. And here I thought GTA is far from real life. I was just sleeping around where other guys in my city sleep. Then just see some teens stabbing one of the homeless guys multiple times. Ran away from there. Never turned back. Man, there are some ducked up people out there. I hope somehow that guy survived. My buddy is a public defender. Only for 10 years until the state pays his loans. The stories he tells will never stop surprising you. Every time we eat dinner together I always have to be reminded to close my mouth because my jaw is always on the table in disbelief of how ducked up society is out there. Bottom line. Get a public defender in your circle of friends. Your dinner parties will never be lame again. I was staying in a homeless shelter that had a men's side and a woman's side. Most of the men were convicted sex offenders. In the 8 months I spent in that hell on earth, I was friends with 3 women who were raped by some of these men. The truly scary thing, the women were actively discouraged from telling anyone what had happened, especially the police. If they filed a report with the police, they were permanently barred from the shelter. That place, one of the most celebrated in my state, regularly has the mayor and governor drop by, is the most evil place on earth. ETA, the Pine Street Inn, Boston, MA. It just didn't occur to me to say where, cause I never expected many people to see this. Also ETA, the rapes didn't take place inside the shelters. The men stayed in one building, the women in another. The rapes took place outside, after dark, in areas that didn't have good CCTV coverage. And tie for my first awards. Please tell your local news organization if they can interview some of your friends who were raped. All the better. Authorities might not give a shit but a hungry reporter sure as hell would. Emailing Ronan Farrow LOL. People who had been homeless way longer than me. Trust me, there is nothing scarier on the streets than the meth couple who this has been their day in and day out for 1000s of days. People joke about meth, but unless you've been around chronic users, you don't understand how truly scary it makes people become. Like a whole new level of animalistic, impulsive, not right in the head people. I ducking hate meth. Duck meth. I know plenty of drug users that can do drugs casually for recreation, except meth. I never met anyone that done it more than a handful of times that didn't end up crashing and burning. Lost a few people. They're not dead but merely a meth-fueled husk of their former selves. Snow. I'm a big, scary dude so I never had trouble with people picking on me or whatever. In that sense the streets were safe to me. But seeing snow for the first time that year just made me cry and panic. It was too early for snow. I wasn't ready for that type of cold and was hoping to be on my feet again before the winter came. Beautiful thing like snow just ducked me up in so many ways. Hope things are looking better for you now. Thank you. Oh yeah, I turned it around. This was 7 years ago. I was making art from trash and selling it in markets and posting it on the streets. I became pretty known for it. I've traveled the world for exhibitions and worked with very famous artists. I'm still struggling with money. I work non-stop and now with the virus I'm struggling even more. But I rent a house with a big garden for my dog and own a car. I'm far away from that life and I don't think I'll ever be in that position. Edit. Really humbled and overwhelmed by all the messages and positive thoughts. My IG is at Glil247 for people who want to check out my work. All my love and best wishes to you. Wonderful Redditors. Lots of stabbings and rapes. I was stalked by a gang one night on my way home from work. I still have no idea how I wasn't raped or mugged. Once I woke up suddenly to a not homeless man holding a huge knife staring at me inside the abandoned building's basement I was sleeping in. Once he noticed I was awake he asked if I was Russian. I said no and he said he was looking for a different girl. Gave me $20 and left. Edit. If you can read this and immediately think yes. It's the best idea to send this woman disgustingly perverse messages and ask for nudes. I hope your dong stay flaccid for eternity. Not sure what the word is in English but this guy could be a member of the Russian mafia flesh market. Probably was looking for a runaway prostitute. Edit. The word isn't bratwa. It's a specific word for a gangster that collects runaway prostitutes. I'm blue-eyed and blonde so I'd have to deal with people thinking I was Russian way too much. Now that I am out of that life, I still get spoken to in Russian all the time. Waking up to a shotgun being pointed directly at my head. I wasn't truly homeless but had no money or bank card and was trying to get back to my parents following nearly being strangled to death by my ex. The actual fight happened whilst we were out so I had no spare, no clothes. I'd left my wallet at his and only had a dying phone on me. I tried getting money for a train but only really managed enough for a bus fare to the next town and decided to try hitchhiking. Late into the night I gave up and managed to sneak into a barn where I was able to get comfortable enough to sleep. Turns out I didn't close the door enough and the farmer found me in the morning after taking his gun to investigate. He woke me up. I think he coughed loudly, with the gun painted at me and I nearly shat myself. It asked me what I thought I was doing in his barn and quizzed me on how I got in. He asked to see my arms before he lowered the gun and he started chatting. He was quite nice though and after talking to him for a while he took me back to his house and fed me and let me have a shower. Glad your encounter was wholesome and not as ducked as the other stuff I'm reading here. I'm exiting the thread on this note of wholesomeness. I had been homeless for a couple weeks now and had made friends with this couple. They seemed pretty chill but had a bit of a drinking problem. Anyway, one night I was sleeping. Could hear some commotion going on. Couldn't make out who it was or what was going on until my buddy comes and sits on my sleeping bag. Blood pumping out of his neck. Like full on every time his heart beat it would splurt out. Not under huge pressure but it was pretty bad. I asked him what happened and he said he think his missus had cut his throat with a Stanley blade. He was so drunk he was not aware of how bad his injury was and insisted I did not call an ambulance. So I called the police, they called the ambulance. I see the dude a couple days later. Still homeless. Scar on his neck. He's ever so grateful the nurse had told him how lucky he was. He was literally a couple millimeters away from dying that night. Edit. I'm no longer homeless. This all happened about 6 years ago now. I no longer speak to him. This is another long story. She was arrested but not charged. Last year she committed suicide so she's no longer with us. Well, did he leave his missus? Was she arrested? I need to know too. Biggest thing. 5'3" 115 lb. Was how often people try to abduct you. That and how often people try to serve you tampered food. The teenagers trying to get clout by assaulting pranking you is another one. Coming back to my tent and there is blood everywhere was a fun one. Holy shit, what the duck. I'm a woman in my early 20s. Not my brightest decision. But I slept in my car for several weeks. When I was completely out of money, every night I parked in a small cul-de-sac. As far as I knew, the area was office only, so I didn't take anybody's parking lot and in the morning I left. I worked a lot, so usually I slept like a log. One night though I woke up, feeling anxious for some reason. I looked up and saw a softly illuminated window right above me. Nice, warm light as if from a grandma bedside lamp. I freaked out a bit and fumbled for my keys. I better sit the rest of the night out at McDonald's or something. Then I noticed a silhouette not far away. A man was standing still and watching me. He didn't knock on my window glass. Didn't try to talk or anything. He was just watching. I booked it out of that cul-de-sac real quick. You know, the thing that freaks me out the most is not even the fact that he could assault or rob me then, but the realization that he may have watched me every other night, but I was too tired to notice that earlier. Imagine if this guy has recently found himself homeless. He still has his office job, fortunately, and is able to sneak back in after closing and set himself up a place to crash while he gets back on his feet. Things are going fine. Until one night a car starts parking in the empty cul-de-sac. He's freaked out. He keeps the lights off and hopes they'll go away. They keep coming back, night after night. Finally, fed up, he turns on his light. No reaction from the car. He creeps outside. He is moving slowly, trying to see into the car, when suddenly someone inside of the car moves. He freezes, terrified. Seconds feel like minutes. Then the car suddenly starts and rips out of the parking lot. He remains frozen for a few seconds before running as fast as he can back into the office, triple checking every lock. The car never returns. It is one of the creepiest, unexplainable moments in his life. How the turntables. You're a good person to help respond to a tragedy like that. It's a heavy weight to carry on your shoulders. I'm glad the shelter had the resources and follow through to get you a therapist. Hope you're doing well. I don't know if it counts, but I lived in a van for a month or so when I was in college, and would sleep at the park. I didn't necessarily see it, but I heard it and it is burned into my mind forever. A group of the local hobos beat a guy near to death and they all raped his girlfriend wife then beat her to death. I found a new park after that. What did you do when you heard that? Did you call the police? I did, but the hobos are kind of autonomous in the city I was living in. Police would ignore them and let them sort their own matters out. A woman giving birth at a bus terminal. Was she okay? An ambulance showed up and helped her out. I didn't hang around, but it looked like they had it under control. Was homeless for a summer and an acquaintance through the party scene of the town invited me to crash on her couch. Woke up in the middle of the night to her screaming into her phone about how they are out to get her and are setting the world up for destruction. Pretended like I was still asleep and got out of there the next day real quick. Smart move leaving. Otherwise they might have targeted you too. So I lived in my car, but I remember seeing this woman and talking to her outside a store when I was just chilling eating some food, and she told me she had been homeless literally her entire life and had never slept on a proper bed in her life. I asked how old she was. She told me she was 53. It was scary to me because I realized that could have easily been me. I think about that woman every single day. If she survived that long as a homeless person, you know she is not to be trifled with. She definitely knows a thing or two because she's seen a thing or two. Everyone is gonna try to steal from your ass, so watch your shit. Keep your mouth shut and find a good place that is desolated from nocturnal animals and a-holes. Don't try to make friends, they will turn on you in a heartbeat. I found a few friends on the street, but I never went to shelters or near groups. I kept to myself on the outside of the city and walked in every day. I met a few people that did the same thing, and they were all reasonably nice people. We would meet up usually on walks back out and trade and share what we got that day. But after I type that, you're right. Don't make close friends, and don't let them know where you sleep. Oh god. I was homeless in Seattle for many years. I've seen some horrible things ranging from bum fights that ended in one of them dead, to people next to the downtown Macy's stepping over an overdosed dead body that they thought was just someone sleeping. But the worst thing was probably seeing this methed out drug dealer guy who, at the time, had a bad reputation already on the hill, throw a 15-year-old homeless teen girl over an overpass bridge onto the freeway. She was killed. Edit. Row. Everyone. Thanks for all the recognition, questions, interest, and kind words. Seriously didn't realize my experiences would gain that much attention. There are some far worse memories here, and I just want to continue to remind everyone that these things happen in every large homeless population. Help the homeless. Don't judge and bash them. There's a lot of amazing things you can do for the homeless in your city, including organizing homeless feeds, or giving out essential bags filled with dry socks, underwear, hand sanitizer, toothbrush, toothpaste, feminine hygiene products, a granola bar / trail mix, nuts, high calorie or protein snacks, bottled water, face body wipes, etc. If you can, donate some sleeping bags or jackets to shelters or even a homeless person themselves. And don't film yourself for clout. Filming yourself giving homeless people things they so desperately need is cringe to me. Do it out of the kindness of your heart, not for likes and upvotes. Ducking like and subscribe.